Welcome back to the Poker Vlog, guys. This is episode number 28. We're on our way to the meetup game with Rampage and Mariano. First meetup game I've ever been to. It's a two-part vlog. We got some hands from the MGM, then some hands from the Aria, so let's get right into it. Our first playable hand is a pretty good one. Pocket aces from the cutoff. I posted my missed blinds this hand, and when the action folds to me, I make it 15. We get called by the small and big blind. Three ways to a flop, 9-7-5 with two clubs. Not the greatest flop for aces against the blinds, but at least we're holding the ace of clubs. Both players check to me. I bet 20. Small blind folds, but the big blind makes the call. We go heads up to a jack of spades on the turn. He checks to me. I feel like he has some sort of pair and straight draw, so I make another bet, this time 50, and he lays it down. Next, we pick up pocket fives from under the gun. I open for 15. We get calls from the cutoff, button, and big blind. We go four ways to a flop, king, queen, 9, rainbow. First player checks. We can't possibly have the best hand. With three opponents in, I check, and it checks through. We somehow drill a 5 right on the turn. Somebody's got to have a piece of this, right? Big blind checks. I bet 25, and they all fold immediately. That's like they know what I have. Next, we have queen 8 suited in middle position. Another gun player raises to 15. I call. Button and big blind call as well. We go four ways to a flop, 9-7-3 with one club. We have an overcard with some backdoor straight and flush draws. Not a great flop for the under the gun raiser, so when he checks to me, I feel like it's a good time to start bluffing. I bet 30. I get calls from the button and big blind. We have a lot of cards that can improve our hand, and we nail the best one. Queen of spades hits right on the turn, giving us top pair. First player checks. I bet 85 for value against worse pairs and to charge straight and flush draws, but neither opponent has much, and they both fold. Game seems to be playing a little tight until this next hand. Next, we have king jack suited in the hijack. Action folds to me. I raise to 15. We get called by the new player on the button and the big blind. We go three ways to a flop, 8-5 deuce with two hearts. So we have two overs, second nut flush draw. Big blind checks. I bet 20 on the draw. Button calls and the big blind folds. Heads up now to an ace of spades on the turn, which is a much better card for me than the range from a call on the button. So I keep pressure on with a bet of 60. The button thinks this is a better card for him and wants to play for more. He raises to 175. I check his stack and he still has about 1300 behind. So what are his value hands? Maybe 3-4 suited, sets, two pair with aces up. They all make sense from his position. I have no information on this opponent yet, but I feel like he's probably pretty strong. But I have plans if a heart or a spade hits on the river, so I call the 115 more, looking to improve, but we brick it. The river brings a 10 of spades, but I don't think it's all that bad. I think I can credibly rep spades on the river here, so I don't have any blockers, but given his action on the turn, I feel like he likely has two pair or a straight, maybe a set, so I go for it, and in a big way with an overbet. I bet 625 into about 430. It should put all of the hands we think he likely has in a really tough spot. Unfortunately, we get unexpected news right away when he says,
I got one too.
oh man, terrible news. So he raised this on the turn with a semi-bluff. He hits a flush on the river. No way he's going to be able to fold it. He does think for quite a bit though, because that size bet, he knows it's either a bluff or I likely have a better flush. He eventually calls, shows the 3-6 of spades. So we had a gut shot and flush draw for the best hand. Nice hand, sir. Good call. Now we're in a hole. We add on $1,000 more in the game for $3,000 now. An orbit later, we are back in the cutoff with 5-8 suited. Right as I put in the raise, we hear,
Raise.
All right, Robert Rickerman. Is that you? You are the winner. Congratulations, Robert.
what?
You are free rolling tomorrow morning's event. 10 a.m. 50K guarantee.
Robert Rickerman, that's me. We won a seat into the $50K $100 buy-in that starts the next day. Very nice. Back to the hand. I made it 15 in the hijack. The cutoff, button, small blind, and big blind all make the call. We go five ways to a flop, 10-7-4 with the 7 of diamonds. We have a gutter and backdoor flush draw. Action checks to me and I bet 40. Next two players fold, but the small blind and big blind stick around. Three ways to a blank, 4 of hearts on the turn that pairs the board and brings two hearts. Both players check to me. I can't see either opponent holding many 4s unless they have all of them, so I want to deny equity from straight draws and put pressure on pairs of 10s and 7s. I size up and bet 150 on the turn. Next player folds. Big blind thinks for a bit. He just saw my bluff get snapped off. He's wondering if I'm at it again. He thinks I have it this time and makes a laydown. Feels good to get one through after that last one. Next we have Ace-Jack offsuit from middle position. Action folds to me. I raise to 15. Only the big blind calls. We go heads up to a flop Ace 7-6 rainbow. Top pair with a jack. Checks to me. I bet 15 for value. He makes the call. Turn is a 5 of hearts. He checks to me again. It's really a much better card for him than me. If I bet and get raised, I'll have to lay it down, so I check back for pot control. We improve to trips when the river brings an ace of spades. After I check the turn, I think he's likely to bet his value hands on the river, but he checks to me on the river. I feel like he probably has some sort of pair on the board, so I size up and bet 50 to target those holdings, and he thinks for a bit and tosses out a call. We show the ace-jack and take it down. Next we have pocket tens from middle position. Under the gun player limps. I raise to 20. Action folds around to the limper who makes the call. I'm already thinking about her range of hands. Of course there's always that limp re-raise with aces, but that's a bit outdated and she hasn't re-raised. She's been opening all of her premium hands and big aces, so I think it's narrowed down to a pocket pair smaller than us, more specifically like smaller than sevens, since I'd expect her to open for a small raise with sevens or better. So with all that in mind, we go heads up to a flop 9-9 deuce rainbow. She checks. I bet 15 for value, targeting all the smaller pocket pairs. She calls, and we get an ace of hearts on the turn. She checks to me. As mentioned, not really worried about the ace. Don't think she limp calls with many aces here. I could probably just check, since a bet will now likely fold out worse hands than us when the ace hits. But in the moment, I bet 55, expecting just to take it down, but to my surprise, here comes a very casual check raise to 150. I go into the tank for a bit, wondering what I can beat and what her possible bluffs are. She hasn't gotten out of line yet, and if she can raise my larger size bet on the turn, I think that small pocket pair she might have limped in with was deuces. Since we ruled out an ace, trip nines don't make sense either. It's either deuces full for value or a nice bluff because I make the laydown and share my thoughts.
Deuces full. Nice. Deuces full.
Nice.
Allison is nice enough to show deuces full for the vlog. She was hoping I nailed that ace on the turn. I think I made a mistake though by betting the turn. Although I didn't think she had an ace, my bet on the turn folds out all the pocket pairs, 3s through 8s. And if I happen to be behind like I was, I missed the chance of hitting a 10 on the river to improve. So nice hand, Allison. Thanks for supporting the channel. Next we have Queen 10 suited in the big blind. A few new players who are clearly drinking heavily have recently sat and game has gotten much better. One of them opens for 25 from middle position. Button calls. I make the call. We go 3 ways to a flop ace 6 deuce with 2 hearts. We've got the second nut flush draw. I check. Original raiser, who is a wild card, bets 50. Button calls. He has been very snug, so I'm keeping that in mind. 50 is a fair price. We make the call. We pick up a queen of diamonds on the turn, giving us a pair to go with our flush draw. I check. The aggressor announces another 50. Button looks like he wants to raise. He grabs some extra chips, but eventually decides on a call. I think if the button has 2 pair or better, he's definitely putting in a raise, so I make the call, looking for a heart. We don't get it, but we do improve with a 10 on the river. We make running 2 pair, but we're not quite sure if it's any good. I check, and the next opponent has 100 in his hand, but announces
200. That's 100. Or 100. 100.
You said 200.
You said 200. Yeah, you got
So he wants to switch the bet to 100, but he can't. Verbal is binding in Las Vegas, so the bet's going to be 200. That's what he announced before he slid anything across. Action is on the button, who looks like he has a tough decision. Looks like he's a little bit worried about me behind. So unless he's doing a great acting job, I think he just has a big ace, and I have kind of a hidden 2 pair here. He's a little bit worried about what I'm going to do. He eventually tosses out a call. With all that in mind, like I said, I think the button raises with 2 pair or better on the turn, so I kind of just have to pay this one off. Don't really know what the aggressor has, so I toss out the 200. We get the good news. The aggressor had just a queen blank. Button had ace jack, so we take down a big pot with a mediocre 2 pair here.
Thanks, man.
I forgot to mention we were doing $25 double board Omaha bomb pots. Felt like I was right back in Texas. Lost a ton of money in that. Probably $500, $650 an hour. So in the game for $3,000, out for $1,900. We lose $1,100, but the vlog's not over. We come back for the tournament the next day. go busted, pocket kings versus ace queen for 20 big blinds. Then we play some 1-2, pick up $330 in about an hour. Now let's go to the Aria on Wednesday and get some hands in. A couple days later, we head to the Aria, play 5-5-10 PLO for a few hours, win a whopping $30, bring that $1,230 over to the 2-5 game. We actually river a set on our first hand, pick up $120. Our next hand, we pick up King 10 suited from under the gun. I open for 15. We get calls from the cutoff button and big blind, 4 ways to a flop, Queen Queen 5 with 2 spades. We whiff completely, big blind checks, I check, and action checks through. We pick up a 10 of hearts on the turn, giving us 2 pair. There are 2 flush draws on board now, big blind checks, I bet 40 for value, cutoff calls, and the rest fold. Our hand gets upgraded again when the king of diamonds hits on the river. Hearts and spades miss, but we're losing to any queen, king jack, ace jack, jack 9, which all seem reasonable. I check to keep his bluffs in, but he quickly checks back. Looks like he had some showdown value. I show the king 10, and he looks annoyed when he mucked like I was behind, so I guess he had ace 10, but he didn't show. Next, we pick up 2 aces in the cutoff. Under the gun player limps. I misclick and raise to 25. Normally I'd make it 20. Folds around to the limper who makes the call. We go heads up to a flop 10-4-4 with 2 diamonds. We have the ace of diamonds as well. He checks to us. I'll mix in betting and checking here, but this time I decide to check for deception since we have a near lock on this hand. It gets better as the turn brings an ace of spades, giving us the nut full house. It's a scare card for him. He checks to me. No sense in betting now. We need him to catch up. He doesn't though. The lock closes when the ace of clubs hits on the river, giving us quads. He checks for a 3rd time. I bet 30, thinking he might pay off with any pocket pair, maybe king high. He thinks for a few and does make the laydown. I show the goods. This is the 5th time I've had quads since I've been vlogging, and the only time I didn't get action, so you're not going to hear any complaining from me. Next we have Jack 7 suited in the cutoff. Middle position player limps. He's new and bought in for about 600. I raise to 20. I know it's loosey-goosey, but my table's playing way too tight. We got to open up the action here. Folds back to the limper who makes the call. We go heads up to a flop, King 6-4 rainbow. We brick big time, no spade. But when he checks to me, why not start bluffing? I bet 15, and he makes the call. Turn brings a 10 of clubs, no help, but I don't really feel like he has a king. With complete error, I typically just give up on the turn here, but I'm sensing weakness, and I think I can apply pressure on a shorter stack, so when he checks it, I size up with a bet of 60. He ends up making the call. Maybe I'm wrong and he's running me down with a king, or maybe he picked up a club draw on the turn. River brings a queen of spades. He checks again, straight and flush draws miss. I think the queen is a much better card for me. Jack high doesn't win very often here, so let's continue with the story. The overbet worked so well earlier, let's try it again. I bet 205 on the river. He goes into the tank for quite a bit, 45 seconds, thinking about a hero call. Finally, he flashes a 10 of diamonds, makes the laydown. He would later say he laid down 2 pair, so I guess it was like 10-6 suited. Said if a queen doesn't hit on the river, he check raises me, which is interesting, so we take that one down. To the last hand of the evening, we have ace-jack offsuit on the button. Action folds to me and I raise to 15. Small blind folds and the big blind takes a look at me and then puts in a 3-bet to 65. He just got a double up to 1700. Action's back on us. Folding or re-raising are the only 2 options really going through my head. Ace-jack, hands like ace-jack, ace-10 are pretty garbage to be just calling. So I decide to put in a 4-bet here for 2 reasons. One, I've been the most active player at the table, and I'm pretty sure he's aware of that, so it's a good chance that he's stealing. And number 2, since you just got a double up, typically players are going to want to protect those chips, not get out of line without a really strong hand. So with that information, I put it in a 4-bet to 185, and he pretty quickly makes the laydown, and that's going to wrap up vlog number 28. In for $1,230 out for $1,492, so we pick up about $300 with the Omaha. We'll catch you at the end of the video. Alright guys, thanks for watching episode number 28. Appreciate everyone at the table that day subscribing from the meetup game. It was a great time. Although we lost $1,100, still a good time. Mostly in bomb pots and then that one big bluff. I know the King Jack of Hearts wasn't like the best bluff candidate, but you know, sometimes you got to go for it with air. I think if he has 2 pair or straight, he could probably make that lay down there. But since I had King Jack of Hearts, it was more likely he had spades on that one. So what are you gonna do? Not a bad week though overall. Only lost $400, so that's nothing. As always, here are the stats after every vlog, we posted No Limit Hold'em stats since we started vlogging, so still going well. Looking for a big World Series this year. What else? Oh, I wanted to gauge interest in a possible meetup game with me at the Mandalay Bay one day. Let me know in the comments below if you'd be interested. Maybe in a few months, who knows, maybe after the World Series. I might need to pump up that subscriber list. It wouldn't be a huge place. Mandalay has about 10 tables, so if we can get a couple 2-5 games, maybe 1-3 mandatory 6, it's a great time there. Great staff at the Mandalay Bay. So let me know in the comments below if you'd be down to swing by one of those meetup games. Other than that, stay to the end for a cool trick shot, guys, and we'll catch you on the next video. Best of luck at the tables.
Oh my gosh. Got it. Oh my gosh.